Hi everybody, welcome to Sunya and welcome back to the worksheet discussion of the Environment Prelims Crash Course 2023. Today we are going to discuss topic number 8. Okay, so let us begin. And this is a part of the ongoing Prelims Crash Course for Environment, wherein you can cover environment in good detail in a comprehensive set of lectures which is accompanied by your notes. Okay, so topic number 8 deals with climate finance. Okay, and this you can read about in good detail, especially in chapter number 20. Okay, so let us begin. The first question, that global environment facility is a multilateral institution. Now you have five with different statements which are there, so it is a financial mechanism for which of these? Okay, so number one, UNFCCC, yes. Minamata Convention, which deals with mercury, so even this one. Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals, this is not covered. Stockholm Convention for Persistent Organic Pollutants, this is covered. And even the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, yes, this is also covered. Right? So, if you eliminate 3, you get your answer here, that is B. 1, 2, 3, and 5 for Global Environment Facility, right? Which was launched way back on the sidelines of Rio Summit. It officially came into force in roughly around 1994, right? Known as the world's biggest environmental fund. Question number 1. Okay, second question is on climate investment funds. Okay, which is one of the world's largest multilateral funds. Now, again, in this question, it is asking you which of the funds are a part of climate investment fund. Okay, so here, if you carefully look here, so one is environmental relief fund, then strategic climate fund, clean technology, and adaptation fund. Now, those of you who have already read about these funds, etc., one part is that adaptation fund cannot be a part of this. Why? Because adaptation fund was created under Kyoto Protocol. So this you can definitely eliminate, right? Clean technology fund is a part of this, which promotes clean technology. So is strategic climate fund. Okay. Now, environmental relief fund is created under the Public Liability Insurance Act of 1991. So even this is not a part of it. Only two funds are there. So one is Strategic Climate Fund and the other is Clean Technology Fund, which is a part of the climate investment funds. So here the answer becomes B2. Only two of these is correct. Question number 2. Okay. Then the next question is on International Solar Alliance. Okay. So the alliance includes all the member countries of United Nations. Now, well, whether this will be true, so no. There can be some exceptions. There can be some countries which have not joined, even if you think like that. So not all the member countries have joined it, right? The one becomes wrong. Then it aims to mobilize over $1,000 billion, right? And the year is by 2030. This is true. And again, one thing for you to remember is that Green Climate Fund talks about $100 billion per year, whereas International Solar Alliance talks about $1,000 billion by 2030. Okay, so this is correct. It is one of the stakeholders of One Sun, One World, and One Grid initiative. Okay, this is also true. By the way, this initiative was launched in COP26. So One Sun, One World, One Grid is COP26. International Solar Alliance by itself is COP21, which is known as the Paris Agreement. Okay, so when India and France came together, okay, and they found this International Solar Alliance, the headquarter of this is in this Gurugram. This is also something you need to know about. So here the answer becomes C. 2 and 3 only. All right. Then next question is on IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So the question says it is jointly created by World Meteorological Organization WMO and UNEP. Okay, so that's the first. So this part is true. The year goes back to 1988, wherein WMO and UNEP had come together, right? So, first statement is absolutely correct. Second statement, it produces reports that support UNFCCC, right, which is the main international treaty on climate change. This is also true. We already know. For example, COP21, which deals with this Paris climate deal, etc., was dealt with, and the reports and the findings, etc., was supported by the reports of IPCC. So this is the same part. Okay, so this is true. According to IPCC, a global net zero by 2030 was the minimum requirement. Now, in this question, first of all, you have to check for both whether the year is 2030 and whether the temperature rise is this 1.5 degrees Celsius. So the temperature rise is correct. Okay, but this global net zero, this year is not correct. Okay, so this year is actually 2050. And by the way, net zero, again, I'm repeating this, net zero does not mean zero emissions. Net zero means whatever you are absorbing and whatever you are emitting, the difference or the balance should be zero. Okay, so that is known as net zero. So this becomes wrong. And this you could have also guessed in some sense if you knew this European Union plans to have this net zero by 2050, right? So that could have perhaps helped you. So it is that block which has had, and India has a target of 2070. Okay, so a global net zero by 2030 would have been not possible in that case. So for question number 4, the answer becomes B, 1 and 2 only. Question number 5, Biocarbon Fund Initiative for Sustainable Forest Landscape. Okay, multilateral facility towards reduced greenhouse gas emissions and better land management through REDD plus. Okay, so this is true. This is what this talks about. If it talks about sustainable forest landscape, so yes, it talks about how to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, now this fund is administered by Global Environment Facility, right? So this is wrong. It is actually administered by World Bank. Okay, so that is one thing we need to know here. So statement number 1 is correct. Statement number 2 is not correct. Okay, so answer becomes 1 only. Question number 5. Next question is on Kyoto Protocol, and it's a 4 statement question. So let us see. By the way, if you know that Paris climate deal, I've said it many times in this lecture, is COP21. Kyoto Protocol is COP3. Okay. Only the members of UNFCCC can become parties to the Kyoto Protocol. That's true. Okay. Only these can become the members. Right. The provisions of Kyoto Protocol are legally binding. Okay. So this part is also true. In fact, Kyoto Protocol, this talks about that the greenhouse gas emissions have to be stabilized. Okay, and it has commitment periods for the developed countries. This is the point of difference when you compare Kyoto Protocol with the Paris Climate Deal. Kyoto Protocol would deal with the developed countries. Okay, so that is one thing. So yes, this is legally binding. Then member countries can include international shipping, international aviation to meet the goals. Now, here what has happened, that to meet the goals of Kyoto Protocol, the provision is that the member countries cannot include these. That international shipping and international aviation cannot be used. So they actually have to go for proper land use change, etc., and forestry to meet their goals. So this cannot be done. This protocol talks about common but differentiated responsibilities. I think this term you might have also heard about many a times. So this is absolutely true. This term common but differentiated. See, environment is a global common. Okay, so everybody has to save it. But let's say our expectations from US will be different from what our expectation is from Namibia. Okay, so in that sense, the responsibility is differentiated. Okay, so the answer becomes A, 1, 2, and 4 only. Now another question related to this, okay, but this again is related to climate finance. This is joint implementation mechanism. Before we do this, I'll just tell you, in Kyoto Protocol, there are two things. One is joint implementation, one is clean development mechanism. Now, joint implementation, this happens between the developed countries. So there is one developed country, it will have another project in another developed country. You can say this is, let's say, NXB country, this is NXB country. Or in simpler terms, I can say if France is, let's say, doing a project in Germany. So NXB to NXB, this is joint implementation. Clean development mechanism is different. Okay, it is from developed to developing. Okay, so you can say NX country and non-NX country in more technical terms. Now let us see. Joint implementation allows a developed country to earn emission reductions from a developing country. No, this statement actually is talking about clean development mechanism and not joint implementation. Joint implementation should have been NXB to NXB, or let's say developed to developed. So this becomes wrong. Okay. By the way, please make sure you see the question is asking which of the following is not correct. It offers parties a flexible and a cost efficient means of fulfilling a part of their Kyoto commitments. Okay, so this is true. So question is asking which is not correct. Question number 7. The answer becomes A1 only. All right. Next question on Green Climate Fund. So it is an initiative to support sustainable agriculture projects in Asia and financed by credit from the Asian Development Bank. Okay. Statement number 1. So first of all, this project is not very specific only to Asia. If it is Green Climate Fund, it is talking about the different global issues. Okay. Second, this is a fund which is under UNFCCC. And if you want more details, this was established in COP15. Okay. So we have been basically, so that is also known as the Copenhagen Accord, which was established in COP15, actually established this Green Climate Fund. Okay, and in the next one, in COP16 in Cancun, what had happened? This fund had come about. All right. So COP15 is the precursor which led to it, and overall COP16 is what made this possible. So statement 1 definitely becomes wrong. Second statement, World Bank is the interim trustee, okay, subject to review, etc. of this. So this is correct. That World Bank is the interim trustee. Then NABARD is accredited as the national implementing agency or the national implementing entity of GCF. So even this is true. Okay, so answer here becomes C. 2 and 3 only, wherein this is basically COP15 and COP16 overall have led to it. World Bank is an interim trustee, okay, and NABARD is the national implementing entity, okay. Next question is on Nagoya Protocol. So it is saying, by the way, in CBD, Convention on Biodiversity, we read about Cartagena Protocol and we read about Nagoya Protocol, okay. Cartagena Protocol talks about the biosafety related to living modified organisms and genetically modified organisms, whereas Nagoya Protocol talks about overall access and benefit sharing. Okay, talks about how can you prevent biopiracy, right? So the question is saying Montreal Protocol is reinforced by Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol on liability and redress. Okay, so this is the first. See, now this question is very easy to eliminate. Montreal Protocol is related with ozone depleting substances. It has nothing to do with this Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary. In fact, Nagoya Kuala Lumpur Supplementary Protocol deals with not this Nagoya but with Cartagena. So it deals with Cartagena Protocol, right, on liability and redress. All right. Then the supplementary protocol specifies measure to be taken in the events resulting from hydrofluorocarbons. Again, this is absolutely different. The supplementary protocol, it basically talks about what is going to be happening because of living modified organisms, LMOs. Okay, so it is not doing anything related to all this. Okay, so it is basically talking about LMOs. Okay, so this also is wrong. The question is asking you which of the following is incorrect. So both the statements are incorrect here. All right. And then the last question is on report and indices. Droughts in numbers report. This is by UNCCD. This is correct. Second, climate change performance index. This is a relatively easier question. This is German watch. Then global energy transition index. This is World Economic Forum. This is correct. And living planet report. This is by World Wildlife Fund for Nature, WWF. So only two reports are correctly matched. Okay, the answer has to be only two pairs. All right, question number 10. So let us quickly recap what all questions we have seen. Okay, so we started with Global Environment Facility, then Climate Investment Funds, International Solar Alliance, right? Then we saw IPCC, Biocarbon Fund Initiative for Sustainable Forest Landscapes, question on Kyoto Protocol, question on Joint Implementation Mechanism. Then we saw Green Climate Fund, and then Nagoya Protocol related, right? And lastly, we saw a question on report and indices, right? Again, in case if you want to cover your prelims rapidly, you can just join the prelims 2023 crash courses by Sunya, right? Wherein you can cover these subjects in a very comprehensive manner, right? And I hope that you were able to solve these questions and just revise these lectures and just practice the worksheets. That will be helpful, right? I'll now meet you in the next worksheet discussion. Thank you.